Dogs are intelligent, playful and loyal. They've proven to be a great support to children with autism.
Ezra was a compromise at a time in Mika's life when he was struggling.
Specially trained dogs can provide routine and confidence to autistic children in their everyday life.
Working with the dogs has given me the confidence to be able to go and socialise with people.
Rafi, over.
In the UK, around 100,000 children are autistic, and I want to find out how dogs can help them.
It's sometimes hard to measure these effects, but you just say, like, this dog has saved our family.
I'm Rachel Howitson, and I'm going to meet families and children affected by autism who have experienced the benefits of dogs.
You don't sound Scottish, you sound like back to Brit. Can you explain can you explain the rules to me?
That's a good impression.
I want to explore whether enough is being done to fund and support charities that provide autism support dogs.
The best part of this job is saying yes, you can have a dog.
With 1 in 10 people in the UK affected by autism, the condition is widespread. I'm here at the Autism Research Group at City University of London to find out exactly what autism is and how children are affected specifically.
We speak very much of the autism spectrum and autism spectrum disorder, which is a range of developmental conditions, so which means that you have them from birth right throughout your life, which affect your capacity for reciprocal social communication, and it's also characterized by restricted and repetitive behaviors. Younger people with autism finds it hard to get on with other people and to make friends, and sometimes their behavior will look a bit odd from your perspective.
With a clearer understanding of the condition, I left London and headed to the south coast.
Bright colours, loud noises, a sensory overload is something autistic children really do struggle with. But could that change with the help of a dog?
I've come to Bournemouth to speak to the organisation Helpful Hounds. They help develop assistance dogs for children with disabilities in Dorset, Hampshire and Wiltshire. They have 8 dogs in training at the moment, 7 of which are golden retrievers, and 1, Kevin, who is a French bulldog. 9-year-old Phoebe Fenton has autism. Her mum, Katie, founded the organisation earlier this year after discovering firsthand the benefits of a trained dog.
I got involved and wanted an assistance dog really for Phoebe, and because Phoebe has autism, and a lot of children with autism have obsessions, and her obsession was actually dogs. I think having a dog, it gets you back out in the community. You could never go out in the holidays or weekends. It was always very difficult due to crowds and all that. And now, we don't particularly think about it.
Jack Fenton and Matt Britton are 2 of Helpful Hounds dog trainers. Jack is also Phoebe's older brother.
Over.
So we use the cue over for something called deep pressure therapy, which is a form of therapy wherein the dog will lay across either the legs, the body or the back of a young person with autism, Down syndrome, mental health disorders, etc. in order to reduce their sensory overload and stress levels.
Pull.
They use positive reinforcement training methods.
Thank you.
Tug. So we use the cue tug for them to tug the rope, and the cue get it for them to fetch it, get it.
It's all about the relationship and the bond, and the dogs want to do it because it's fun. It's fun for them. Everything, a lot of the training we use are fun games. For them, it's just a game, but they're continually training through these games that we play with them. It's a pet dog first. When that jacket goes on, that's when it's in sort of work mode, as we call it.
With my little sister Phoebe, with the dogs, what would happen is that she'd go into a supermarket, she'd get sensory overload, and she would start climbing the aisles, and she would start, trying to run away. And I remember one of the first dogs we were working with, because I tend to have them in my home a lot, I tend to use sort of to train them and do stuff. We took one of them out with her, and we were in a clothes shop, and I had a hold of her hand, and I sort of let go to look at something. I turned around and I found her with this dog. She was under the table and just lying with her head on the dog's sort of side. I think it was Rafi actually, who you saw earlier. So just laying on the side of this dog, and I just sort of looked, and at that point I didn't get it, because my mum was sort of the first one to introduce us for Phoebe to have a sort of support dog, assistance dog, and I didn't really get it at that point. I wasn't clued in, and I sort of looked at that and I went, wow, like that hit me really hard, both as a brother, and that almost just innate connection and bond that young people, you know, all children, but especially young people with autism can have with animals, especially dogs.
Jack is also autistic and knows all too well the benefits of a support dog.
So I'd suffered from really bad clinical depression and anxiety. I was diagnosed when I was about 12. And, you know, I didn't make it through school. I left school, left college. I wasn't in a very good place for a good period of 6 months of time, in about 2015, so about 3 years ago. And I didn't have a lot of friends because I wasn't comfortable socialising. But it was that initial stage, and working with the dogs has given me the confidence to be able to go and socialise with people. So now I do have friends my own age that I can go out and sort of socialise with, you know, with the dog, without the dog. I've gotten to that stage now where the dogs, working with the dogs has given me such a great amount of independence that I genuinely don't think I would have had at my age had I not had the experience of working with those dogs.
Most children, unless they are petrified of dogs, because some children with autism are, I really think there's a great benefit. And I think the government should actually support it. I think it would save the NHS quite a lot of money. There'll be a lot more happy families out there that don't feel so isolated. Demand is huge. We get, you know, calls from over the country, and I think the hardest thing for me is saying no to people we just cannot help. The best part of this job is saying yes, you can have a dog, because I know how life-changing that's going to be for that family.
So there simply aren't enough dogs being trained, and this problem isn't specific to Helpful Hounds. Most assistance animal charities are forced to ask families for a donation. Helpful Hounds suggests a donation of up to £2,000, and other charities ask for as much as £9,000, a big ask for any family. But after seeing for myself the difference that a support dog can make, even at this cost, I'm keen to find out the research that's been done.
I've come to Lincoln to meet Dr. Sophie Hall. She's a research fellow specialising in human-animal interactions and has researched the effect a dog can have on autistic children and their families.
Often children with autism feel sort of slightly socially anxious, and the dog offers kind of a source of constant support to them, and sort of it can provide an icebreaker, so it might be able to help them interact with different people and make friends more easily if they're out walking. The dog is something that is sort of a focal point for them, and often we found research that shows that when people are out with dogs they engage much more with other people. So it might be like, oh, you know, how's your dog bred, or what's your dog's name, or something like that. And this sort of, it also takes the pressure away from them, so this sort of focus is on the dog rather than on the child. Also, it sort of, dogs can provide a constant form of support to the child. So often children with autism suffer from separation anxiety, whereas if they have a dog, they can often come with them to different places, to schools, or at least in the car to schools, to shopping, to different places, so that there's always the dog there and they always know that they have them there to turn to as a source of support. So we've done some research which is really nice, which showed that family functioning, we compared a group of families, one that acquired a dog, one that didn't acquire a dog, and we followed them over time. So all these families had children with autism in varying levels of severity. And we showed that those that acquired a dog significantly improved on their family functioning. So they showed less weaknesses and more strengths after acquiring a dog. Companion animals, so dogs, cats, anything like that, can save the UK economy, into the NHS, £2.5 billion a year in terms of reduced visits to the doctors and reduced reliance on costly support services. I'm sure that we could replicate similar figures if we looked just at children with autism and their families.
So a huge amount of money could be saved by the NHS if provision of these dogs was invested in. I contacted the Department of Health and Social Care to see if they considered funding companion animals, and they told me that none of the accredited charities trained mental health support dogs. They said they'd need to explore the availability, the function and the eligibility criteria for receiving a support dog.
I've come to meet the Pryor family. Mum Diane is taking two of her adopted children, Lola and Mika, for a walk in the woods with their dog Ezra.
Where are we going today?
Big sister.
The woods. What will we do at the woods?
Run, jump in puddles, climb trees.
10-year-old Mika is autistic and Ezra is his companion dog. Before finding out about Mika's relationship with his dog, I wanted to know more about his autism and how it affects him. Diane explained how he interprets emotions.
They have to be exceptionally clear. There is, we don't understand frustration or irritation. We understand happy or sad, the obvious ones. So you're always trying to help him decode the world. And he also views, because of his early life stuff before he came to live with us, he's got attachment issues, so he always believes that we're going to fail him. Adults are going to let him down because that's all he's known. Even, 9 years in, he still thinks I'm going to, malfunction and not be there when he needs me.
So how many are there in the family?
No, physical. It's a game.
It's not a game.
It is a game, Mika. It's a game.
Not a game.
Yes, it is. Look, we've got the skinny and bony pony back.
I heard you shouting me.
Hands to your side.
It's okay because I heard you screaming my name.
There you go. It's nice to know she's wanted.
Bully.
What did she bully you?
Ezra is not a trained autism support dog, however, pet dogs can also provide autistic children with support.
Well, we looked at therapy dogs but couldn't find, although the cost was a bit of a shock, because I think the cheapest we ever found was about 7,000. But because the press had advertised it, it became a very demandable commodity. We couldn't get near one anywhere. So Ezra was a compromise at a time in Mika's life when he was struggling. We realised we wouldn't get near an autism dog, it would be years away. He was out of school, his self-esteem was pretty poor, and it just came along in that a friend had said, my mum's got puppies. And so we compromised and said, okay, we would get another dog. It won't be a therapy dog. But yes, Ezra's brought some peace to Mika. I think he always hoped that Ezra would be like Spike, who is what I call your lap dog. He'll sit on your lap, he'll take endless stroking. But Mika can't cope with that. I think Ezra helps Mika because Ezra says nothing. He doesn't make really any demands on him, but he will ground him. Mika needs to run, so Ezra will run with him and he'll run. They'll run together and they'll get tired together, and then they tend to come home and settle together. That's why we never went for what I call a dainty dog. We had to have something that would stand up to Mika, because it would need to be a tough relationship.
And so Mika and Ezra's relationship, has there been any negative?
Oh, well, Ezra bit Mika. Mika was on the sofa, Ezra was on the floor asleep, and Mika slid off the sofa and scared him, and he went and bit his lip. He's got a small cut there. Obviously, that immediately sent Mika into high alert, because obviously he had to go to hospital. And his first words in the car were, "I'm going to lose my dog, aren't I?" So we had to work through all of that. So we had to do a risk assessment, we had to do more training. But it taught Mika that there are parameters, there are boundaries. You can't keep pushing. People and animals have limits. So that was useful, but I'd prefer not to have done it and learned that way.
So whilst it's evident from Mika's experience that companion dogs can offer so much, it's clear there are some drawbacks that wouldn't be had with a specially trained dog.
The families I've met have varying needs, but one thing is plain: A dog can support an autistic child in a way humans cannot. But while demand is high and access is limited, it's also evident that not every child has the opportunity to benefit.
Good.